The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now mode.
All right. Good afternoon, traders. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome out to the Tradespoon live trading room, stocks and options, closing bell. My name is Scott. I am the head trading coach here at Tradespoon, and I will be your host. We did it. We've made it yesterday, and then today it's like, oh, what's going on, buyers? Where are you? We need the buyers to do a little bit more. Things are in jeopardy, I would say, to say the very least. Trades on as well, right? Like if you're going to do it, yesterday was like, hey, we hit some support. We starting to bounce. If you're going to go, you got to go. You can't wait for 3 days and be like, no, and then it's already made its move it's going to make. At a precarious place right now that we have to decide what does it mean? What are we going to do? Do we give it another day? Yeah. All right. Let's gear up for it. Let's dive in together. Roll up your sleeves. Let's get our hands dirty with it a little bit. A while teaching for a while. Those are both about 4 years short. It's a little longer than that, even. These are the disclosures. Be careful out there. Manage your risk. Remember that we're not advisors. This is for education and informational purposes only. Okay. Wow. I don't think I've ever heard of the guy, quite honestly. Like, yeah, what's going on? Everyone should be here. Today, well, people get could teeter and then totter and then fall. To reply back to you, ended up taking the dog for a walk. What else? AI is driving divergent paths for big tech stocks. Interesting. I don't know what that really means. It sounds like it doesn't really have much bearing on any individual. Porsche joins Tesla in warning about high rate. A little bit of an ease on the spending, and that's how you get. Right? Were you going to just lower your prices? Everyone just decided to lower their prices, even though people were spending more. Of course not, right? So, right? Those rates are stopping me from buying my $200,000 Porsche. Mark said, right? Loan repayments. So that impacts a big chunk of discretionary income for a large chunk of the population, right? Like there was 8% that there was a pause on the loans, and now that is going to have an impact, I think, on spending and inflation. That alone, now that now that people have to pay that money back to student loans and can't use it as discretionary spending, that is impactful. That's about it for the news. What else? Let's look at the economic calendar. So we know that the hard part is everyone's like, oh, well, tomorrow, here's the thing. I'm a little great. 4.7 growth. What if it comes back? What if it comes back? Oh, that's funny, John. John had an issue with PayPal for a funny reason. Yeah, yeah, I don't think the GDP, it's already projected there. If it comes there, it's like, yeah, okay, we got what we expected. I don't know if that's going to be enough to help the market. I don't know if until we see inflation, and then when we get this inflationary data, I would say this might be the most important right here. The PCE year over year at 3.5. If that comes back less than expected, then maybe, right, the fact that we would have a slight percentage, now up to 3% of a cut. Come on, those guys are smoking crack pipes, but still, the thought is not raise; it's more keep the same or lower. And I don't necessarily know about that. So yeah, it could be interesting the rest of this week, and we'll see. We will see. What does Stella think? Stella was feeling great until we'll see. I mean, Stella finally came on board with like, hey, great, let's have a bull rally. Stella was feeling pretty good. Was bullish on the SPY. We'll see what today does. And it's not necessarily kind of, let me see if I can't draw this out. It was up in here kind of doing this, right? So bullish on SPY, less so on QQ. Also more bullish than not, only the NASDAQ really. We look at our seasonal chart. Now we're still at an 82% correlation, but we've derailed, and you can see we are going down. We have derailed from it. It hadn't in this area. It's the same basic area. Its validation was sideways, right? It was negative. So we're off a little bit here. Now, this is where we tend to see a jump. If we were going to get back into the swing of things, this Google getting battered, Meta getting battered, Amazon getting battered, not too far behind, PayPal doing poorly. Yeah, what are our concerns? The concerns are that as of right now, we are lower than our lowest point, which we hit 2 days ago. We got down to 417.80, and now we're at 417. Is when things really, gosh, right? We were looking in here for this thing. That one was not quite 5%, so I didn't really count that. But I'll tell you what, those next two, clearly the sellers came in, smashed it all the way back down. The next day, we opened lower. It fluctuated, but it held. That likely opened a bullish window. The question is this the start of the next day, or is this the same testing of support? And you can kind of see there's a little bit of ambiguity to the signal. We crossed up and we've now turned sideways. We haven't crossed back down yet. Has it broken support? That might be on a trade by trade basis. It might be a trade by trade basis where you're like, I'm going to give it one more day, or I'm going to shut her down. Certainly you have this here. We still are looking at this here. But when I say I think there was a bullish window and I put a couple of bullish trades on, here's my posture, 1.25. So it actually was lower than last week, but it's still slightly positive. My VIX is neutral. My volume is negative. My short term was basically sideways. What do I still have? I still have a long-term uptrend for the institutions. I still have a favorable sector rotation. and I had a little bit of a reemergence of the NASDAQ in my major market, slightly turning positive. So what does this say? It says if the all sectors are down about 10%, 10% means what? Correction. A correction, literally in the context of any bull market. And we are in a bull market, right? Relatively speaking, from low to high, it's a bull market. That's right. So, so is it 3-1 or 4-1 down to up today? For sure it is. For sure it is. Anyway, so am I here saying, hey, look how bullish I am? No, I'm saying there was a bullish window and there was enough in my posture to say, you know what? I want I thought. My thought was, and still potentially is, if I can pull it up. And look, you know, I'm wrong on a regular basis in the market. Of course I am. Everybody is, but you know, I'm never wrong long. However, the VIX still, I think I still see it as 2021, low 20s. It's elevated at the low 20s. Not ideal, but it's nothing catastrophic either. The NASDAQ is certainly not doing very well. Is it wrong? Not yet. 22, do we hedge? For me, not John, no. There's no upward line trigger. This is the hedge right here. I would just let this be, because if it goes past 22, this is the hedge that's going to capitalize on it. One here and one here. You know, there's two hedges on. So if all of a sudden this thing drops, what do? I ride my hedges. I shut down the bullish trades quickly, and I should be not be adding one today based on today's higher low. Unless in the next 30 minutes, the buyers really come strong and this thing comes back down. Speaking of, let's get a quiz before we do anything else. We'll come back. These are good discussions. These are the right. I love it. Don't be afraid. I like people to challenge. Be like, hey, are you sure? I think you're wrong about that. Great. I could be. I'm not here like I'm the expert. BC 417.75 and higher. You're an A. 417.15 to 417.75. That 60-cent range. You're a B. Fred is feeling the bearishness. He's a C. Martine is a C. John is a C. Koo says buyers are coming back in. A. Mark is a B. Brad is a C. Carmen says she is a. Okay. SPY. Yeah, it'll be an interesting one here at the end of the day. I think Stella is going to be bearish. I could be wrong. Intraday. Get up here to about 417.90. Come back down. And by 2 o'clock, 417.50. 417.50. That is right here, dead smack in the middle of B. Stella is a B. I will be joining Koo and LK in the A department. The market sensed it, wants to support held. If we believe this is, you know, if it's this low right here, we're this low is at 417.80. We're there now. Clearly closer to these shadows where we say that's kind of, so I would say that's more like 419.50 to 420. But I do think we could get at least back into the range of the last low candle, which is right there, right? I think we can get somewhere in this lower range if it does recover. My stochastics has not failed yet. It's stalled and pinched. But if the market point and stays in this general area, slow, but it would still be indicating up. You'll notice even back in here for a minute, it was almost still just kind of grinding its way higher before finally making the move. I don't want to have to wait for something like that, but certainly it's something that we have to think about as being in the cards for the way that the price action is potentially behaving. So Ted said maybe the speaker election helped for a small bit of stabilization. I agree. I agree with you that when uncertainty starts to be pervasive, right? What's the uncertainty still? Europe, uncertainty around our economic stability. Although I would argue it's more stable than not. You still have always the same people like, oh, is it going to be a recession? I hear you, John. Okay. Yeah. So did we look at everything in here today? I can't remember if we did. Yeah. Problem. If you have bearish trades from last week, I'd be surprised that you didn't end up closing them down. Sorry, hold on. Just should I have? Probably not. Have I? And probably would I again? Yeah, I don't know. You know how it goes. Okay, let's get to the watch list. See what's going on. Check out PayPal. I'll check it coming in. We'll see what happens. It's looking a bit dicey out there. I'll tell you this: nothing's disrupted yet, right? If you look, let's get back to the 6 month. I mean, it's close. The one thing that is boom, boom, and we got to this point, and then it's like we're trying to lift off, and it's like not convinced, but it's also is that the sellers convincingly taking over? I don't think so. Right, we've got 30 minutes left. Right now, the volume is at 69 million. Average is at 80. I'd say 82 to 85. 82 to 85 is where I would expect, based on the way things are going right now, that maybe it's just this last little. We'll see. We will see. Let's go through the watch. Wacky Wednesday indeed, Dennis. I agree. Okay, so here's a question. Have you put on bullish trades? A temperature check here. How are you feeling? How's your risk levels? Which way are you trading right now? Let's make sure there's no chimp action around. Directionally neutral. Okay, nothing wrong with that. If you've been putting on maybe a couple of butterflies or something, makes sense. Fred said, seasonal strength put me longer than he would like to be. Got it. Understandable. That's a great if it feel. So Adobe. Adobe still looks stochastics is starting to pinch at a higher low. Could this potentially doji and then turn and give us a signal? Yeah, I would say it could. American Eagle Outfitters was one we talked about already. That's a great setup. It turned, triggered yesterday, continuing today. That's a fair bullish trade right there, I would say. Let's see. Aflac. I mean, yes, right? Like that's a good looking place. Aflac, AIG, PGR. These are strong components. Aflac. Okay. Nope, that's not it. Did I spell it wrong? AFL. Whoops. Bullish and then uncertain, but definitely a few days. Okay, that's viable. Adobe is setting up. AEO was a valid signal. AFL is valid and a viable signal. There's still stuff here to make arguments to have balance and some bullishness. Right? So let's go look at AIG as another. AIG, same thing. Gave the signal yesterday, moving today. Still time before earnings. Either one of those in the group. I took Aflac. And okay. AMD AMD, yeah, that could have tricked you. I didn't get tricked there. I did get PLTR, got me. We'll see that. Oh, PLTR. Why would you do that to me? To, but not through. To, but not through. So can we see a little bit of sideways and then see it try to a little longer term reversal? Maybe so. Amazon, not good. Amazon breaking support, above average volume. That to me seems like some kind of a pre-earnings sell-off. This is in alignment. Now, does that mean buy the news? Right? Maybe tomorrow they're like, hey, we actually did pretty well. I know ConocoPhillips, if energy's not on your radar for potential bullishness, I believe it should be. Let me just kind of pop through these. They're through earnings, so the implied volatility dropped. They're an acquisition target, but it hasn't come through yet with CVX. I'm gonna look through to see is there something I'm missing, but I'm like, yeah, why not consider something like that? Although I don't know, we'll see what happens. Also, I don't even see what the premium was. Like it usually you're gonna see it jump up to like whatever the premium level. I saw the announcement, but you know what? We got to stop. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what's going on. Maybe not. Maybe I should throw it off my list. We'll see. Then we'll have to go through the process. HES will probably track CVS now. Where's my calculator? 55 times, whoops, times 1.09. I mean, that puts it up here at this high, 168.95. So is there some potential to capitalize on that? Anyway, target, it has beats quarterly estimates. Days after being agreeing to be bought for $53 billion. They raised their outlooks. We also have, though, in the sector, close. So, like I said, the setups are in place for energy to make another move. Let's be watching. I think let's be watching. It was a negative. I was thinking about this one, but for me, industrials has just been a strong. Industrials, the group is getting a new lower low. Here, no, actually, it would have been the next day, and on XLI, the next day was even lower, or a little bit of a bounce, but mostly down. No, neighborhood or the best house in a CrowdStrike, whether it was SMCI, whether it was PLTR. If you traded one of these, you probably got. If you're in that club, can I get an amen? Amen. You don't have to join with me, but you know, smack. CrowdStrike gave a nice little signal, pulled back, it turned, it crossed, everything looked good. And then today, has it failed? It's not working, but it's failing. If you went tighter, let's see, did it give a hike in that? Got him. Thank you, Carmen. Amen. LK said yes. I mean, you could have just moved it underneath this. That might have just picked you off. If you decided on yesterday to go with maybe like the body, you might have got picked off already, right? You might have been picked off already. You may still be in. I don't think there's a valid or invalid to either one of those, to be quite fair. CVE, EA Sports. Ooh, that's a tough one. That looked pretty good yesterday. Today it looks like it's not good, and there's not a lot of time. That might be one where you end up just going ahead and taking your loss. 10%, not great. Hess, we looked at heading down right before earnings. I actually was thinking about Intel. The only thing that prevented me with Intel was that there just wasn't enough time. This thing reports in 2 days tomorrow, and so I'm like, it didn't give me what I needed. So it's coming down still. But yeah, has Vlad done any iron condors? Are you guys in any? I don't. It's really battered. The appetite for risk. I'm a little concerned that that component is going to drop. Oh, he did do Google. Okay. Ooh, he did. It could be hurtful. The appetite for risk just isn't here. The markets are. It's not there. There is incredibly bearish. So Fred, I might be joining you. I just don't know that we're convincingly bearish yet. Which means that we could still have upswings and whatever else. He had to buy short to fix. Is Amazon a candidate for an iron condor? For earnings, you mean? I mean, maybe, but with Google showing the propensity for large earnings moves, you may want to just be a little careful with some of these tech ones like Meta and Amazon. Well, Amazon's not tech, but from the big ones, right? Meta's about to report a little bit of a pre-earnings. It held up 3%. It was up 4% at one point, so it's given back some of it, but not all of it. Still positive. Nvidia, this one could have got you. This one definitely could have got you. I think this has a Heikin-Ashi, and that would stop you out. So if you did Nvidia, there's a good chance you were in and out taking a loss. Some of the tech ones, right? Some of the tech ones, that's what's going on right now. That is absolutely what is going on. Bob said, I'd rather do less beta stocks if you can get enough premium like IBM. There you go, right? Yes. Yes, I would agree with that assessment. NWSA, News Corp. If that one got you, you anticipated. I love the look of that. If my market posture was a 4.5, 5, 6, I would have jumped on that yesterday. Bam, jumped on it. Because I'd have been like, I love the way that looks right there. But that was not accompanied by anything here other than a slight pinch, not even a hint of a sideways, let alone turning up. I did not take this one. I'm glad I didn't. If you did, this is one where on self it was anticipatory. And the question you would say is, why would I be anticipating in this market? It was down by 0.5 point. It's been kind of stalled in what we would consider this like slightly the bullish end of neutral, but it's still neutral. So there you go. VIX analysis. The VIX analysis, yes, is looking hedge worthy, my friend. Hedge worthy. We'll go back to it though. It's coming up here in a minute. PDD. PDD gave a nice signal here. This was the one I said, remember, Amazon's too close to earnings. This one, it's holding up. Does it look phenomenal? Am I like, hey, look how good this is? No. It turned, gave a signal, popped a little bit, and there it is. Great. PGR, valid. It doesn't look as good there. Carmen took this, said she has 6 weeks and is holding. I'm not going to hold through earnings, but I am going to give it one last day. I'm not convinced. It's above the shadow still. The volume is not what I would consider to be, overwhelming. I'm going to hold it back. I would like it halfway above this candle. Definitely, and which would also be maybe above the body of the hammer. If it does that, then I'll see if I can catch a little pre-earnings. We'll see. But that's about it. Only about 3 or 4 bullish trades, and iffy. If it doesn't look good, I agree with you there. There is some. That one's holding up better than PLTR, but I still like PLTR. Oh, let's see. Looks like the bees, but barely. Remember, it's 417.75. 417.75. So we popped up there here over the last 10 minutes. We got up to 418 almost and a half. It's pulled back. Now it looks like it's trying to stabilize. So my fellow A's, can this thing hold and then give us 2 candles? 19 is where we start thinking, you know what? Maybe our support level has held after all. Let's just see, shall we? Tesla. Boom. I'm thinking Tesla could be a short candidate. If my posture drops, any company who comes out and says we've dug our own grave makes me feel like giving them a little shorteroo. Right? So should we, to Fred's point, be preparing to potentially trade to the downside? Of course you should. If you ever ask the question, should I be? Yes, there's never a bad to prepare for something different than what you're doing, right? I don't think. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. VIX doesn't look terrible, but it is still hedge-worthy. Anything above this line right here, the body really, but the line especially, and it is. So it is hedge-worthy still. So that just adds balance, right? So a second hedge to a few bullish trades, and that's my balance. So am I okay if the market drops? Yeah, I'll start stopping out of things and then see if those puts ride a little bit and find that balance. Hope it works out. I'd prefer if it went the other way and I had to close my puts, to be perfectly honest, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Right now, my main priority is not how am I going to grow. My main priority is how am I going to make sure that I don't lose if things go wrong, and then can get quickly to the other side when I've decided what right is. What does right look like? So about 20% better than expected. That gapped it up. Couldn't hold on. That's where we find ourselves. WMB, we looked at the market overall. So Walmart. I didn't take it, but I would say Walmart was valid. Why didn't I take it, you might ask? Look good. I told you I was kind of looking for this thing. That wasn't enough of the signal by the time we got the next one. Then my risk is here. I need two of these. Because I don't see that in the cards even, and you can, because I don't see that in the cards even, and you can see it's even stalled a bit now. Now, if all of a sudden it does this and it pulls back to 160 and turns, and it's an easier lower turn, then I just need two of those. 1, 2, and all of a sudden, if it gets back up to its old high, you got 2 to 1. That's a better trade. Not because you're more convinced it's going to be right, but because you have a better ability to quantify or to control your risk and justify your risk. I'm controlling it at a tighter level, so I have less at risk empirically, which makes it easier for me to produce a positive reward to risk ratio, right? So if you ever hear me, I'm like, oh, no, I didn't like that. It's not that I didn't think, oh, it's going up. It did everything it's supposed to. That looked right. This looked right. This looked right. Everything about this, right? We had a higher high, higher low. Everything looked good. And even today, it's only down 0.3. I think it could still go on up. But that's not enough for my trade because of the reward to risk. Maybe if it pulled back a little bit and the Heiken Ashi held up, let's see what that would look like. Candle, Heiken Ashi. So if you got in now, put your stop in at this. Here, your risk is about 160, let's call it. A little less. So 320, we'll call it $3.50 of risk. Can it get to 170? Even that's a little bit tough, but you would be moving your stop very quickly. Well, maybe not half, maybe a third of the risk on one move and then another third on a second adjustment. And if we just need to wait for that confirmation to turn. If you like the other ones, just make sure that you're keeping an eye on earnings. And even if you're in the ETF, if 2 or 3 of them report bad earnings, the whole thing's going to come down. So it doesn't insulate you that much from that same type of risk. What it would insulate you from is if only one financials trying to figure it out, not very well. Same with industrials. Staples, yeah, that's looking a little defensive, isn't it? as is this. So as this week progresses, barring any unforeseen changes, I think I will find myself more in seeing things as Fred sees them, a little more, I wouldn't say bearishly, but I would say increasingly weaker. If we get strength in staples and utilities, if we have weakness in small caps and technology, communication services, that's money moving out of growth elements and and aspects of the market into defensive areas and aspects of the market. Hawkish indeed, Bob. Hawkish indeed. If we continue to see what else? Money flowing out of the Russell 2000, out of the Russell, out of the NASDAQ into the Dow. We're seeing some of that today. Additional concern, defensiveness, hawkish, whatever we want to call it. It's saying, hey, be more careful, be more. If I'm going to trade bullishly, I'm going to trade the strongest possible things I see. That's what I've done. I've got hedges in place, and if things start to fall apart, and especially if my posture does drop again, well, I would definitely say that's going to motivate increased bearishness on my part. Here's the utility, same thing. All right, let's go back to the SPY. Let's see if it's is it gonna break? It's just kind of holding down there now. Oh, it's falling apart. You can see it was trying, right? It was trying. It wanted to try to bounce, but it couldn't. What am I hedging? I'm hedging my portfolio. What am I hedging with? I'm hedging with down here, but maybe I am hedging with a 5 weeks out, 5% out of the money. Let me just pull it up over here. So if I go 5 weeks out, November or December the 1st is 37 days. That's my option. I'm going to go December the 1st. Where are we now? 417.50. What am I going to do? I'm going to go 417.50 times 0.95. 396.62. Rounds to 397. I'm fine with 397. Let's go look and see how much those are costing at the 397. It isn't traded. What do I have? What do I have out of curiosity? Let me just see. Oh gosh, I only have $5 increments. I only have $5 increments below 410 in the Decembers. So I would probably, I don't know. Would I go? I'd probably go the 395s then. Those are $3. If you remember, not long, it was $1.30 for what? Exactly the same thing. 5 weeks out in time, 5% out of the money. And how much did I pay? I paid $1.30 at the time. Now what? Now for the same now it's a little bit more in time by 2 days, but a little bit less. It's a little further out of the money, so it should be cheaper. Still $3. It's much more expensive, right? So it's harder to hedge at that point. John said he went to the November 24th, a little less time. Okay, fair enough. And they were only $2.44. The 390, nope. Yes. Okay. So that's what I'm doing is I'm using the SPY as a protective instrument, right? Puts on the SPY. If the market drops, those are going to do well. And they're very liquid. I can get in and out typically quite cheaply. You can see over here 301 by 303, 2 cent spread, 2 cent spread all across the board, 2 cents. Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, let's question. Where's my question panel? Hopefully that makes sense. Look, be careful. What is the over tradability scale of this market? Patented. I call it out. It's an oral patent for now. The over tradability factor is I would say it's an 8. It's pretty easy to overtrade this. Be careful how much you do on any side. Bees, you win. Down $6, down 1.5%. Fred, you're not wrong. It's ugly. Bees, you win. Congratulations. It ramped up quite a bit here. Let's see if it was enough at the end to kick it. Nope. Average. Less than average. Okay. So that's good. Didn't make that worse. So we've got that going for us. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Stella was a B, so she wins. She always does. She does pretty well. I'd probably say she has the best record of any of us. She actually said 417.50, as a matter of fact. 417.50. So, all right, I got to run.